Welcome back to another AllAboutRx explainer. I am so pumped you're hanging out with us today because we are taking a look at one of the most complex, incredible, and kind of messy journeys in the human body. We're going to literally trace a 30-foot anatomical pathway from start to finish, breaking down the exact structure and function of the human digestive system. We're going to figure out exactly how your body takes, say, a slice of pizza and miraculously turns it into the microscopic fuel that keeps you alive. Okay, so here's our game plan for today's explainer. 1. Introduction to digestion. 2. The upper GI tract. 3. Small intestine and absorption. 4. The accessory organs. And finally, 5. A high-yield quick recall to lock it all in. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Introduction to digestion.
So before we get into all the distinct anatomical structures, we really need to establish the basic rules of the game. What is this system actually trying to accomplish? Well, everything boils down to this one elegant physical reality. Digestion is simply the process of breaking down large food particles into much smaller water-soluble particles that can actually be absorbed by your blood plasma. The alimentary system isn't just about, destroying your food. It's a highly sophisticated extraction network. Everything we're about to explore serves that one core purpose. And to pull off that extraction, your digestive system follows a very specific 6-step sequence. It kicks off with ingestion, literally just getting the food into your mouth. Then comes propulsion, right? Moving that food down the tract through swallowing and those involuntary wave-like contractions we call peristalsis. Next up is mechanical digestion, the physical chewing and churning. That's immediately followed by chemical digestion, where enzymes step in to break those complex molecules into simple building blocks. Then we hit the ultimate goal, absorption of those nutrients straight into the bloodstream. And finally, defecation, which just gets rid of whatever's left over.
Mapping this out clearly shows us exactly where those steps happen. You'll notice the digestive system is basically divided into two main teams. First, you've got the main GI tract, the gastrointestinal tract. That's the continuous tube running from your mouth down the pharynx and esophagus into the stomach and all the way through the small and large intestines. But look at the accessory organs hovering nearby, the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. They aren't actually part of the tube itself, but they're absolutely crucial because they secrete all the essential fluids right into it.
All right, moving on to Section 2, the upper GI tract. Let's start from the very top, where food first enters. Everything begins right here in the oral cavity, and there are 3 main structures you've got to know. Up top, we have the palate. That acts as the roof, safely separating your mouth from your nasal cavity. Down below is the tongue, a muscular, glandular organ anchored to the floor of your mouth, and it's covered in lingual papillae, basically your taste buds. And of course, you have the teeth set firmly in the gums. These guys are the primary drivers of that mechanical digestion we talked about. But here's the thing, not all teeth do the same job. Our dentition is incredibly specialized. When you take a bite, your incisors handle the slicing and cutting. Your canines, they do the tearing. The premolars step in to chop things up, and finally those big molars at the back handle the heavy-duty grinding and chewing. Working together, they physically crush your food to massively increase its surface area, all while salivary amylase starts the chemical breakdown of carbohydrates. It's a complete team effort. Once that food is chewed up into a soft little ball, which we call a bolus, it gets pushed to the back of the pharynx. And this triggers a highly testable involuntary swallowing reflex. Honestly, it's a brilliant 3-step safety mechanism. First, your uvula elevates to block the nasopharynx. That way food doesn't accidentally go up into your nose. Second, the epiglottis drops down like a little trapdoor to block the larynx and trachea, keeping food safely out of your lungs. And third, peristalsis takes over, actively propelling the food down the muscular tube of the esophagus. And that esophagus drops the food straight into the stomach. Now, the stomach is essentially a muscular bag, and it's divided into 4 regions. The cardiac region where food enters, the dome-shaped fundus, the main body, and the pyloric region at the bottom. Quick clinical pearl for you here. That entry point is guarded by the cardiac sphincter, also known as the lower esophageal sphincter. Its entire job is to stop highly acidic stomach juice from splashing back up. When it fails, well, that's what causes acid reflux. And think about the muscle layers for a second. Most of the GI tract only has 2. But the stomach has a super unique 3rd layer called the Inner Oblique Muscle. This extra layer lets the stomach aggressively twist, fold, and churn your food into a liquid mixture known as chyme. Which brings us to Section 3, small intestine and absorption. After the stomach does its heavy mixing, it slowly squirts that chyme through the pyloric sphincter, leading us to the real climax of the digestive story. Welcome to the longest stretch of the alimentary canal, the small intestine. We're talking roughly 6 to 7 meters long. This is the primary site for chemical digestion and nutrient absorption, and it's broken down into 3 parts. You have the short, C-shaped duodenum, which receives all the digestive juices, then the jejunum, the little section where most of the heavy lifting for nutrient absorption happens, and finally, the highly coiled ileum, which absorbs whatever is left, like vitamin B12. But the really wild part is the transition from the gross to the microscopic anatomy. To maximize absorption, the inside wall isn't flat. Not at all. It's covered in these large folds called Plicae circulares. Those folds are covered in tiny finger-like projections called villi. And the cells on those villi, they're covered in even tinier microvilli. It's literally folds on folds on folds. And what does all that microscopic folding actually achieve? It results in this absolutely awe-inspiring number, 250. Thanks to the plica, the villi, and the microvilli, the small intestine packs roughly 250 square meters of total absorptive surface area inside your abdomen. Just to put that into perspective, that is roughly the size of a tennis court, all perfectly engineered to pull every single usable drop of nutrition right into your bloodstream. Section 4. The accessory organs. Because honestly, the small intestine could never do all this heavy lifting on its own. It needs a vital supporting cast. Tucked right beneath your diaphragm in the upper right abdomen is the liver. This thing is a massive 3-pound metabolic powerhouse with 4 distinct lobes, the right and left lobes on the front, and the smaller caudate and quadrate lobes on the back. The liver does so much. It detoxifies your blood, it regulates your blood glucose, and, crucially for digestion, it constantly produces bile. Bile is absolutely essential for emulsifying and digesting fats. Then, nestled perfectly into the C-shaped curve of the duodenum, we have the pancreas. It's an elongated organ with a really fascinating dual personality. On one hand, it has an exocrine role, meaning it pumps out heavy-hitting digestive enzymes, lipase for fats, amylase for carbs, and protease for proteins, sending them straight into the duodenum. But on the other hand, it also has an endocrine role. The islets of Langerhans inside the pancreas secrete hormones like insulin and glucagon straight into the bloodstream to control your blood sugar. Talk about the ultimate multitasker. So how exactly does the liver's bile get to the food? Let's trace it. Bile is produced up in the liver, and then it flows down the common hepatic duct. From there, it can actually travel up the cystic duct to be stored and concentrated in the gallbladder. Then, the second you eat a fatty meal, that stored bile flows back down, joins the common bile duct, and empties directly into the duodenum. Oh, and here's a massive clinical pearl for you. Right where the gallbladder tapers into the cystic duct, there's a little region called Hartmann's pouch. This is a notorious spot for gallstones to get stuck, which blocks the bile and leads to a super painful condition called cholestasis. Definitely remember that one. All right, after the small intestine absorbs the good stuff, the leftover liquid waste passes through the ileocecal valve right into the large intestine, or the colon. Tracing the gross anatomy, it starts at the little pouch called the caecum, which is where the vestigial appendix hangs out. Then the pathway travels up the ascending colon, across the transverse colon, down the descending colon, and into the sigmoid colon. The main job here? Reabsorbing water, salts, and minerals, which ultimately transforms that liquid waste into solid stool. That stool is stored in the rectum until, well, it's finally expelled through the anus during defecation. Section 5, High-Yield Quick Recall. We made it to the end of the line. Let's switch gears and lock in the most critical, high-yield exam facts from today's explainer. First off, keep this number locked in your memory, 30. That entire incredible gastrointestinal pathway we just traveled, from the mouth where you take that first bite, all the way down to the anus where waste leaves the body, measures roughly 30 feet. That's about 9 to 10 meters long in a human adult. It's literally a massive, continuous processing plant just folded up neatly inside of you. Crazy, right? Let's wrap with a brisk, high-yield rundown of the whole pathway. The mouth handles mechanical breakdown and kicks off carb digestion. The esophagus uses peristalsis just for transport. The stomach violently churns food into chyme using acid and pepsin. The liver produces bile and detoxifies. The gallbladder stores and concentrates that bile. The pancreas brings the heavy-hitting digestive enzymes. The small intestine is your superstar, the primary site of chemical digestion and nutrient absorption. And finally, the large intestine absorbs water to form solid stool. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. How does understanding this precise 30-foot, 6-step journey change the way you'll think about your very next meal? The microscopic engineering happening inside your abdomen every single day is literally nothing short of miraculous. If you found this structured breakdown helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe button for the All About RX channel. And definitely don't forget to click the link in our bio to grab the full detailed PDF notes for your studies.